Hey, good morning. It's Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. So do appreciate you tuning in each and every single day. We've got so much to get to this morning. I do want to start with some of Donald Trump's cabinet picks. So President-elect Donald Trump, he just has announced that he is backing billionaire Elon Musk and supporter Vivek Ramaswamy. He's announced that both these guys are going to lead a new department. It's called the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE for short. He also announced, I met Pete Hegseth before. He is a great guy, very down to earth. Pete Hegseth, he's the Fox News host, and he's going to serve as the Secretary of Defense. This is the latest in a flurry of appointments and days since Trump has been president-elect, since he won the election. So he's tapping some of his staunchest defenders, some loyalists. And I think that that's good news. I think that that's great news that he is tapping some loyalists and people who have advocated for MAGA and Donald Trump and have defended him. It's so important that he's got, people who are willing to defend him in these cabinet positions. We all know that Donald Trump loves to fire people, right? So the only pick that I'm kind of nervous about is Marco Rubio. I feel like he's neocon-ish. He is a war hawk, likes to get into these forever wars, and I'm worried about him as the pick for Secretary of State. But in the last couple of years, he has defended Donald Trump, and I think that he's a good pick, not a great pick. And time will tell, if he's not good and if he doesn't do his job, Trump will just fire him. So we're going to talk about him. We're going to talk about Kristi Noem for the Department of Homeland Security. That's a big one. She looks pretty cool. She looks pretty cool with this flamethrower. I'm going to share with you, of course, that video. It's so good. I every time I think of Kristi Noem, I think of her with the flamethrower and lighting up cardboard boxes. Now, I didn't know the story because, frankly, I just didn't care. Kristi Noem, I guess, killed a dog, and I'm sure that's going to come up when she is in her hearing. Somebody's going to ask her about killing this dog. She admitted it in her book. I didn't look into it until this morning, and I am just shocked at how dumb the media is and how they blew this out of proportion. I've never really looked into the story. I looked into it today. It's incredible how the mainstream media can just grab onto something and run with it and not provide you any information. I do want to talk about these picks, but also a woman who was jailed for not closing up her salon. She had a hair salon. It was her business during COVID-19 in Texas. She just won a seat for the Texas legislature here, and she won it big. It was like 80% of the vote went to her. So that just goes to show you how much people did not like having their livelihoods deemed unessential by the government during COVID-19, during the pandemic. And they said, enough's enough. We're going to elect the woman who went to jail after refusing to close her business. We're going to elect this woman to the Texas legislature, the state legislature. So I'm so excited to get to all of it. But first, as I said, Elon and Vivek Ramaswamy, the two couldn't be a better pair to be tasked with cutting the government. That's what the Department of Government Efficiency is. They're just going to cut wasteful spending. They're going to cut wasteful positions, which is a lot of government. It's just all a bunch of waste. So it kind of reminded me of this clip. This is from Parks and Rec. I don't know if you guys have watched it. 309-451-9299. Let me know. It's great. This is Elon and Vivek's first day at DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency. Definitely Ron Swanson energy, I think, is going into this department. Let's take a listen. Here we go.
With current and projected deficits, we need to cut expenditures by 32%.
Let's make it an even 40.
Oh, that's not necessary.
Slash it. I am an official member of a task force dedicated to slashing the city budget.
This is Ron Swanson. So good. he's in Parks and Rec, or this is Parks and Rec, and he, is tasked with cutting the government. He's on a task force to cut the government, and he's excited, and he's just saying slash it, slash it. I'm going to continue with the clip here. Here we go.
Right off the bat, we sell City Hall. Let somebody turn it into a large gas station or a TJ Maxx.
Ron, that is a very creative idea. But we don't want to sell any of our major assets because we don't want to lose out on any future revenue streams.
I hear that. Don't worry, I have tons more ideas.
Okay,
So sorry. New ringtone. Don't cut anything without me.
I love it. That was such a great clip. It's so Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk, 100%. Ron Swanson saying slash it, slash it. Let's get rid of City Hall. Let's do it. You guys know me. I cannot stand the public sector. Anything the public sector does, we could do it better. The only reason why government should, the only tasks that government should have are national security, public safety, and really, I mean, that's it. National security, public safety, things like that, and basic infrastructure, I would say, roads, things like that, but that kind of fits into national security. Privatizing roads, it gets complicated because what if the military needs to use the roads for whatever reason? But, the more and more I realize, the older I get, the more and more I begin to realize, well, the public sector is kind of wasteful and they kind of suck at doing their jobs, a lot of it. So yes, public safety, national security, that's it. I want to get to this woman who managed to win a seat in the Texas legislature. During the pandemic, the government thought that they had the right to come in and dictate to you what if your livelihood was essential or not. And many government officials, they took this big old power trip and they jailed people who dared keep their business open, for opening their businesses as if they had a right, to do that, and you had no right to keep making a living. Pursuit of happiness. They attacked your pursuit of happiness. So one of those people were jailed under the draconian edicts and draconian mandates, and she ran for the Texas legislature, which I think is really cool. I want to play this clip. She's a salon owner, and she won by a whole lot, folks, in Texas. She won with 80% of the vote. So her name is Shelley Luther. She was a former salon owner. Now she is a Texas legislature. Let's take a listen.
Shelley Luther, a former Dallas salon owner, received national attention when she was thrown in jail for defying COVID-19 lockdown orders back in 2020. And now she's headed to the Texas state capitol after winning nearly 80% of the vote in her bid for state house. Texas state representative-elect Shelley Luther joins us now. First of all, Shelley, congratulations. As soon as I saw this story, because I was one of those people that couldn't stand all those COVID tyrants, I said, we got to have this lady on. And so first, congratulations. Remind our viewers what happened to you, because I think so many of us want to forget about COVID, but we can't. And I think that's why you were elected.
Well, in 2020, I owned a salon. I actually still own the salon, but we shut down for about a month during COVID. And then after about a month, my hairstylists were calling me saying, I can't feed my kids. I don't know what to do. So we just made the decision to open back up, and I ended up in jail.
Amazing. And so when did you decide that, what I have to do is not just be a small business owner, but I had to run for office?
Well, I mean, it just put me in check, honestly. I wasn't super political before any of this, but I'm like, somebody has to do something about this. And so we ran for our first office shortly after that.
Yeah, and you won with 80% of the vote, a resounding victory. It should be so edifying for you. Let's look back on what happened, because I remember some people that did get their hair cut. Nancy Pelosi went and got her hair cut. Mayor Lightfoot could get her hair cut. So all these elites who were imposing rules on us, on women like me who also wanted their hair colored during COVID and couldn't figure out why we couldn't go there and do it. And as you mentioned, so many of your employees were so hurt by it. Talk to me about that moment and what for example, your employees have thought about this and this journey.
Well, what's actually pretty ironic is even in my mugshot, my roots are like 2 inches long because
Darn it.
I was not getting my hair done. And so it's funny when all of these other people had their fresh highlights, or even some of the men, their, fresh colors on their hair. When us normal people you weren't able to do anything.
Yeah.
But it was more about essential versus non-essential, picking winners and losers. And,
Yes.
the dog groomer next door to us was wide open, deemed essential.
Wow. Yep. So how exciting. She won with 80%. That is not a small percentage of the vote. Shelley Luther was ordered to jail for 7 days in 2020 after Dallas County judge found her guilty of civil and criminal contempt of court. They called her a criminal, folks. Shelley had refused to shutter her business during the COVID lockdowns, and she was released from jail after personal intervention of Texas Governor Greg Abbott. So she probably would have stayed in jail had not the governor, Greg Abbott, made a personal, a personally intervened. So she has moved. She has moved to the Texas state legislature. She went from salon owner to legislator, and she was elected to the Northeast 62nd district. She's a Republican. She defeated the Democrat, Tiffany Drake, with roughly 75% of the vote, 75, almost 80, about there, somewhere around there. So wasn't even close. And that is how telling these COVID policies were, how unpopular. It really tells a story because people, you can't lock up healthy people for no reason other than, maybe you have the invisible sniffles, and you can't do that and then not expect some sort of backlash. Quote, she says this: after about a month, my hairstylists, they were calling me up and saying I can't feed my kids. I don't know what to do. So she made the decision and she opened up her salon. And she goes, I wasn't super political before this. Oh, yeah, COVID really. I mean, I was kind of political, but then COVID just threw me over the edge. And I said, enough's enough. The government has got to go. So evil policies like this, where women were struggling to feed their children, single moms were struggling to feed their children, and the government treated you as if you were a criminal just because you were trying to make ends meet. That's not only evil, but it's a level of tyranny that the government was engaged in. I mean, they were never afforded that much power. Okay. And they're not supposed to have that much power where they can just shut your business down like that. Moral of the story, don't mess with Texans. They'll come back and they'll win 80% of the vote. All right. I do need to take a quick break, but you're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. Testing, testing. Testing, testing. One, two, three. Test, test. One, two, three. Test, test, test. Woohoo! Hey, good morning. It's Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. So do appreciate you tuning in each and every single day. Before we took the break, I was telling you a little bit about this business owner. She's a woman, and she's a salon, or was a salon owner. She still owns the salon, but she doesn't, work there anymore. She's moving on up into the Texas legislature. And, it's just evil. And it was a level of tyranny that people just could not stand. So they voted everybody out. This Democrat, she beat the Democrat, Tiffany Drake, with roughly 80% of the vote. She was a Republican. And it was just so exciting. It's just so exciting that she beat this woman. And it's really a tale of an underdog. I mean, she was imprisoned under these draconian mandates, and she just won the seat in the Texas legislature. Now, I do want to talk a little bit about the South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem. Yeah, she guys always say, "Oh, she's so attractive. She's a smoke show." Yeah, I think she's very beautiful. Donald Trump, I believe, officially, this is one of his only official picks. Now, officially, Elon Musk, Vivek Ramaswamy, they're going to be in charge of DOGE, which is the Government Efficiency Department of Government Efficiency. So they're in charge of that. Officially, Fox News host Pete Hegseth, he's going to serve as the Secretary of Defense. I've met him before. He's a really nice guy, really down to earth. And it looks like, I haven't seen like confirmation, but Marco Rubio is going to be the Secretary of State. It's likely. So Kristi Noem is one of these like picks that is for sure. So she is definitely going to be the Department of Homeland Security. And I'll be honest, I don't understand the media coverage when it comes to Kristi Noem. A lot of people have said terrible things about this woman. And, I didn't know so much about this whole killing a dog story, that thing that happened. And I looked into it this morning. No doubt that's probably going to come up during her confirmation hearing. A Democrat senator, is going to be looking for some TV time and probably will say, remember when you admitted you killed that dog? Right. And my guess it's going to be like Cory Booker or somebody like that who mentions this. But, she actually uses a flamethrower. Before I get to the dog story and I have to, provide a fact check there, I want to show you, and you guys can watch it on the stream, but the sound is just good too. She's like, there's snow all around, and she uses a flamethrower to, break down these boxes. It looks like a bunch of Amazon boxes she has sitting in her yard. She uses a flamethrower to get rid of these boxes, and that's pretty incredible. So let's take a listen. Here we go. Here's the. Perfect. There it is. Perfect. She's really cool. Her using this flamethrower, like, I was like, wow, that's pretty awesome. And I wonder how that kind of went. The best part about that story with the flamethrower, and she's using this huge flamethrower, I guess it was a gift from her staff. I would love to be a part of that brainstorming session. Right. Like, what should we get the governor? Well, let's get her a giant blanket, or let's get her a little throw pillow, or we could get her a gift card to Applebee's. Hey, how about this? We give her a flamethrower. wait, what? We can gift her a flamethrower? She's exceptional use of a flamethrower. That doesn't mean much as a Department of Homeland Security chairwoman, and I get that, but she is also a master class when it comes to combating mainstream media. She, she was going ham on Biden's border crisis. And it's a requirement of anybody who's going to serve as somebody on Trump's administration to, of course, combat with the media and hold the media's feet to the fire and handle the journalism industry. So I do want to play this clip of Kristi Noem. She is on with CNN and she's talking about Biden's border crisis. And she just handles the media. She just knows how to handle the media. So take a listen here.
Should your former Republican colleagues in Congress support that deal?
Why doesn't President Biden take action today? I mean, today can be day one. He can immediately announce that he's reinstating the stay in Mexico policy. He can immediately announce that he's going to refocus on building a wall. He can do those today. I listened to Nancy Pelosi talk earlier. She's been in Congress for decades and has talked about immigration for decades. And what has she accomplished? We have a president that has all the tools that he needs to protect our country today, and he's refusing to do that. So to look at Congress and expect them to pass a bill when they failed for decades to do this, and then to say we have to accept this poison pill of a bill that it essentially codifies illegal immigration. What it would do is put into statute that people can now come here illegally. And is just a terrible bill that I think President Trump is exactly right. It should not pass, and push President Biden to take action.
All right. Well, that's Kristi Noem, and she is known as what they call a border hawk. And when it comes to the copious amounts of illegal immigrants allowed to invade this country during the Harris-Biden administration, she said, and I'm quoting, South Dakota won't be taking any illegal immigrants that the Biden administration wants to relocate. And she says that her message is clear. I want to play that message here. She says her message is clear. Call me when you're in American. That's what she says here in this clip. I got to share this with you. She is a really cool, not only really cool with the flamethrower, but she just is one of these people, and I said it yesterday, has common sense. That's the big thing, is you got to get people in there with common sense. They don't necessarily need all the fancy titles or degrees or, politically correct. You just need people in there with common sense. So take a listen here.
Hi, everybody. I'm Governor Kristi Noem. Now, today I announced that South Dakota would not be taking any illegal immigrants from the southern border. If you are trying to enter our country illegally, call me when you're an American. President Trump secured our border. He fixed the refugee program to keep out bad actors. President Biden has destroyed all of that progress. Terrorists have been apprehended at the southern border, and the risk to the people of South Dakota is far too great. Elections have consequences, and President Biden has made America less safe. That's why I'm taking this action to protect all of South Dakota. Thank you for listening.
All right, that's Kristi Noem. Now, I want to unpack this dog story, right? They're going to ask about this dog that she had killed. She admitted she killed this dog. And, when I heard the story, I didn't really look into it much because I knew it was probably just going to be bunk. It turns out it's really bunk. So I'm really digging the Trump team so far. He's putting together a really cool team. I'm curious to see who's going to be on the economic team. But my favorite picks, obviously, Vivek Ramaswamy. I really wanted Vivek Ramaswamy to be the press secretary, but we'll have to see who that's going to be. We don't know yet, but I'm excited to see who the press secretary is. Replacing Kieran Jean-Pierre is going to be the best thing that ever happened to this country. She's a terrible DEI pick. I do want to talk about Kristi Noem and that dog story. I feel like I have to fact check that. So I'll be right back. It's Conservative Cat. Hey, good morning. So do appreciate you tuning in each and every single day. Go ahead, smash that like button. Who's going to run South Dakota if Noem isn't governor anymore? I would imagine it's her lieutenant governor. Let me look that up. I don't know who the lieutenant governor of South Dakota is, but I would imagine that's what is going to happen. Which, I mean, if it's the pick of Kristi Noem, because the Kristi Noem gets to pick the lieutenant governor, I'm sure they'll be maybe not as good, but decent, you know. Yeah, so he is going. So Larry Roden, I don't know much about this guy at all. He is now in position to succeed Governor Kristi Noem. So he is going to follow her place. So that's exciting. That's the next governor is the lieutenant governor, Larry Roden. So, yep, that's who's going to be running South Dakota. She is a great governor. Now, I want to come back and I wanted to discuss with you that stupid dog story. I didn't realize how stupid it was until I read about it this morning. And I read out of The Guardian, which is a leftist news organization. And it was clearly biased. And even the bias story, I'm just thinking to myself, really? This is what you have on Kristi Noem. They obviously are trying to disparage this woman with this story, with the killing the dog. She was on a short list for VP, obviously with Donald Trump. Ultimately, he chose JD Vance, but she was on a short list. But she had killed this dog and she admitted it in the book, but it's not at all what you're thinking. So the thing is, these leftists and liberals and these city folk, they really just don't understand what it's like to be on a farm. And it's kind of hilarious to see them lose their marbles about her killing this dog. So long story short, the dog was going to be euthanized had this happened in the burbs. Had there been a dog like this in the suburbs or in a neighborhood of some kind, animal control would have gotten the dog and they would have euthanized the dog. The way she describes the dog behaving, they would have euthanized the dog 100% animal control. But because she did it and she took accountability and she lives in a rural area, I'd imagine she lives on a farm. It looks like she was at her house there with the flamethrower, huge open space, right? So her neighbors have chickens. It sounds like she lives in a rural area, okay? And then the dog got out and ate all of the neighbors' chickens, crushed them all, their skulls and everything. Now, we lived in a farm, or near a farm, with actual animals. Now, we lived, three fields. We have corn, soy, and hay right behind us. So we, I grew up rural. And we actually had to do this, not with a dog, but with a cat. It kept killing all the barn cats over in the farm behind us. And that's what you do out in the middle of nowhere. You have to stop animals if they are not healthy, or, and I just don't understand how they blew this up. It's insane. And good morning. So do appreciate you tuning in each and every single morning, 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. It's a daily show, Monday through Friday. I do want to chat a little bit about, of course, Donald Trump picking Kristi Noem. And I guess there's this weird story out there about her killing a dog. And I never really looked into the story until today. I read bits and pieces out of the leftist news organization, The Guardian, and they definitely, it was very left-leaning and biased towards Kristi Noem and trying to paint her as some sort of I just kill puppies because I'm an evil person, right? No, that's not what happened at all. If you live rural, I lived rural, grew up rural. We had a farm behind our house, and we had a couple of cornfields on each side and a hay field in the back. This is the kind of stuff that happens on a farm. It's just the way it goes, okay? And the city people and leftists, they just don't understand, and they can't wrap their head around it because they don't live in these areas, and they don't know what that's like. If this dog, it was 14 months old, and it had an aggressive personality. Now, the South Dakota governor, Kristi Noem, she describes this dog in her book. Okay, so she wrote a book, and she, admits in this book, the book is called No Going Back, The Truth on What's Wrong with Politics and How We Move Forward as America. So she talks about this dog in the book, and she had to kill the dog because the dog was acting aggressively. And the dog got into the chickens, a local family there. There was a family of chickens that he attacked and killed all the chickens, crunching it to death one by one. And then the dog bit her. And there was just several instances where this dog was attacking people. And despite them having an electronic collar to attempt to bring her under control, this dog called Cricket, they couldn't do anything, right? And she described the dog as a trained assassin. It was hard to train this dog. Now, if this were to happen in the Chicago suburbs or in a neighborhood of some kind, what you would do is you'd call animal control on this dog. If your neighbor's dog kept getting out, biting people, eating your pets, right, then you would probably call in animal control, and animal control would come with their little van. They'd get the dog and they'd euthanize the dog. In rural America, that doesn't happen. You kind of settle things yourself. You take accountability over your own life. You save $15 on gas from driving, and you save $300 in vet bills for having them euthanize the dog rather than yourself. She had the cojones to euthanize this dog herself and shoot the dog, right? She did it with a goat as well. She describes this goat. It was nasty, mean, would knock down her children. And this is living on the farm. This is regular stuff, okay? She obviously has a farm and other animals. She's not going and raising animals and just slaughtering them for no reason. She got rid of animals that were a danger to her children, to her family, to her neighbors and her neighbors' pets, okay? We had a cat. This happened on election day. In 2016, I believe, I had the cat was a stray, and it was definitely something was wrong with it. Huge cat. I reached down to go grab my other cat. It was having a fight with this stray cat, and the mean cat lunged at me scratched me all up. I had to go to the hospital, make sure I didn't have rabies. And this cat, I come to find out later, had actually been shot by a fellow neighbor of ours because this cat kept getting into the barn and killing all the barn cats. Okay, so it kept going after other people's pets and killing them. And sometimes, animals come down with weird diseases that cause them to do that. Sometimes they are just not, there's some screws loose and you got to kill them. Okay, because they're a danger to society. That's what Kristi did. And it just goes to show you how out of touch a lot of liberals are. They wrote this article. I mean, it was a left-leaning article and there was so much bias in it. And the whole time I was reading it, I was like, yeah, of course, if the dog is killing all of these farm animals, her neighbor's farm animals, and is biting her, of course you got to put down the dog. Like, duh, what? I mean, you can't have that. So, and then they tried to make her out to be some sort of like Jeffrey Dahmer because she euthanized this animal humanely, right? It was a quick death, and she just got rid of the dog. I mean, that's what you do, and it's tragic, and it's sad when that happens. It sounds like she waited a little too long, to be honest with you. She waited until the dog bit her to put down the dog. She should have put down the dog right away after the incident with the chickens, where the chickens were all killed, and despite the electronic shock and the training, the collar, you couldn't control the dog. So probably should have been done a long time ago. I'm shocked that nobody was severely hurt. She put the dog down before it got to be too serious. All right, I do want to talk about, I had to fact check that, right? I mean, I feel like everybody talks about that story when they hear Kristi Noem, because the left has gripped on to that story and nobody seems to know the facts. But even when you read one leftist article, and if you know anything about growing up rule or anything about rural America, you would see right away that this was nothing. Which is why she put it in her book. Clearly, she admitted it because she didn't do anything wrong. Marco Rubio is set to be chosen to be Donald Trump's Secretary of State. It's not official, but according to the reports, Trump could still change his mind. But it seems like things are gonna. Everything's pointing to Marco Rubio. And I know what you're expecting me to say. Boo, boo, Rhino, bad, bad, bad Marco Rubio. Yeah, I don't really like Marco Rubio. Not my favorite pick. But he has been exceptional this year. He has combated the media. He has been an outspoken advocate for Donald Trump and his agenda. I think he's a good pick, not a great pick. He is diplomatic, which is something that you would want in a Secretary of State. Now, I want to take you back to 2023. This is November 2023, the return of Code Pink, right? They were nowhere to be found during Joe Biden's other wars, right? Ukraine, Russia, that war, right? They were nowhere to be found. But once the Jews were involved, post October 7th, the progressive icons, Code Pink, decided to speak out against the Jews. So they were nowhere to be found when it comes to, the conflict with Russia and Ukraine, Joe Biden's other wars. But here they are, Hamas and Israel, and they're deciding to speak out against the Jewish people. So running around the Congress halls like the little rats that they are, they tried to confront Marco Rubio, and they tried to get Marco Rubio to call for a ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas war. Marco Rubio made sure that they were filming, and here's what the tape sounds like. Here we go.
Senator Rubio, will you call for ceasefire?
No, I'm not. On the
Senator
contrary.
Rubio.
Are you filming it?
Wait,
So I want you guys to get this. I want them to destroy every element of Hamas they can get their hands on. These people are vicious animals who did horrifying crimes. And I hope you guys post that.
And what about the civilians that are being killed every day?
Hamas should stop hiding behind civilians, putting civilians in the way. Hamas knew that this was going to lead to this. So Hamas has stopped building their military installations underneath hospitals.
So you don't care that 15,000 have died? You don't care about the babies that are being killed every day?
Horrifying. I think it's terrible, and I think Hamas is 100% to blame. That's what I think. Make sure you post that, please.
Oh, man. Okay. So I don't know. I mean, yes, Marco Rubio forever, wars, neocon. I'm sure you're, thinking of those buzzwords. I was when, I heard that he was going to be Secretary of State, but I'm optimistic. And why am I optimistic? It's because I trust Donald Trump. Donald Trump is cabinet picks, whoever he's going to pick, regardless of where they land on the Rhino to MAGA scale, right? The issue here, or the test, is going to be whether or not they stay in that position. So if Trump keeps them, if they don't perform, then he's just going to fire them. That's what Donald Trump does. So I'm not too worried about Marco Rubio. He definitely has the right outlook when it comes to the Hamas-Israel war, right? I mean, the pagers, right? Everybody was like, oh, how could, there were civilians who died. Even John Fetterman, right? He was talking with a reporter about the pagers, and they were like, how inhumane, the pagers, they targeted civilians. And he goes, no, that was a targeted attack. Hamas was supposed to get those pagers. And, it's the fault of the dad. It was a child who got a hold of a Hamas, terrorists pager. A child got a hold of it and, exploded and killed the child. That's daddy's fault that he's a member of Hamas. It's Hamas's fault that civilians are dying in this war. They're hiding behind these civilians. They're putting their bases underneath hospitals, as you heard Marco Rubio talking about. They're putting their military bases, essentially under these hospitals to hide behind civilians. These people are nasty, nasty people. So Marco Rubio, I'm not too worried about him. I'm really not. All right, I do want to take a quick break, but you're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9. Hey, good morning. So do appreciate you tuning in each and every single morning. Go ahead and smash that like button. Judy, good morning. So do appreciate you being here. Gotta get some coffee. I got mine coffee. Look at this cute little mug. Make America Great Again. I've had this for years. It's great. I think I actually got it back in 2016 when he was running. So, yep, it's an old mug, but Make America Great Again. I love this mug. So, wasn't the dog killing farm animals? Yeah, the dog was killing everybody's chickens and everything like that. And, this is just how the media operates. They grip onto a nothing story, and it's like, really? That's what you're going to report on? And that just goes to show you how biased the media is. They don't understand. They're so out of touch. They don't understand what it's like living in rural America, where, yes, if a dog is killing animals, you've got to put the dog down. Okay. And had the dog been acting like that in the city, nobody would think twice about animal control showing up and euthanizing the dog. But the only difference here in rural America is that we take accountability, and we, I have the cojones in rural America to do the job ourselves. We're not going to call the government to do it for us. And we're going to put down our animals humanely, and we don't need the government to do it for us, because that's honestly the noble thing to do, to kill the animal yourself. That's really hard to do, even as a person. But it just goes to show you how strong Kristi Noem is. Yeah, I could never do that. That's why I could never be the Department of Homeland Security Secretary. She's definitely going to be better than Alejandro Mayorkas, who has constantly said, oh, the border's secure, the border's secure, the border's secure. I was looking at the numbers, folks. Within the last couple of years, Ana Navarro, I played that clip yesterday from The View. She says, oh, it wouldn't even be classified as mass deportation if we just deported all of the illegal immigrants in our prison systems. So just federal prisons alone, we're looking at like 124,000 immigrants, illegal immigrants in our federal prisons. by very definition, I think that we could call that mass deportation. Just in the last couple of years, folks, from 2023 to 2024, we've seen 123 to 124,000. That's insane. That what? Of course, if we just start with the people in our prisons, the federal prisons, and if we deport them, then we're doing good. That's already mass deportation. So, yeah, to sit there and say that our border is secure when we've got currently criminals, illegal immigrant criminals. So these are people who were caught with crimes and being sentenced to federal prison, heinous crimes. We've already got 124,000 of those individuals clogging up our resources in our prison system. So if we just start there, I think that we're going to see a ton of benefit to America if we just get those. They shouldn't even be here. They weren't supposed to be here. They're illegal immigrants. They weren't supposed to be here to begin with, right? So it is hard to do. Enough said. Yeah. It's really, it is hard to do. But, that's the thing about rural America is, you take accountability over your own life. And accountability is hard. Admitting, to yourself that you're wrong or that your dog is a problem and dealing with that problem. It's hard to take accountability. And that's why leftists never want to do it, because it's hard. It's very common practice. My brother-in-law has had to do that. Yeah, it's a tough thing to do. I wouldn't want to do it. I didn't do it. Our neighbor actually did with the dog or with the cat. It was a cat and it was killing all the barn cats. It kept getting into fights with the barn cats. The barn cats serve a purpose. It keeps the mice out of the barn. And all the cats kept dying. Right? So they had to shoot the cat. The cat attacked me. And I had to go to the hospital. I mean, my arm I still got the scars. I mean, the cat attacked me when I went outside, and thank God, actually, Pleasy Farm, the Pleasy's took care of the cat. So, it's what happens in rural America. Bottom line. Woohoo! Hey, good morning. It's Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. Man, we've got so much to get to this morning. And the 7 o'clock hour, I do want to talk about this plastic surgeon. He pledges to do all the trans surgeries he can before Donald Trump tries to stop him. Yes, this guy, he gets out on TikTok. He films himself. He's a doctor, and I'm using air quotes here. He decided that the most logical thing to do amid Trump's election was to brag on social media that he's going to do everything in his power to chop off the healthy body parts of not only adults, but children in the name of trans ideology, right? He's going to chop off all of these healthy body parts, and he's going to do it as fast as he can before Donald Trump assumes office. So, his name is Dr. Javad Sajan. I don't know. I might be butchering that. I don't really care. This guy does not deserve any kind of respect. But he runs a clinic in Seattle, Washington, and he offers gender transition surgeries to minors, which Donald Trump has already said that he's going to ban right away. He said in all 50 states, it's going to be illegal to offer trans surgeries to minors. These are life-altering surgeries, and children are not capable of making those decisions at an age of 12, 13, 14, 15. So we're going to get to this so-called doctor, and then I do want to talk about a football star who gets a massive fine for the crime of wearing a MAGA hat. Yes, all of this and more ahead on the Conservative Cat Show. I've also got some local news about your drinking water, the Mahomet Aquifer. Will it be protected? Find out at the top of the hour. It's Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9. Hey, smash that like button. Smash it right now. I sure do appreciate you tuning in each and every single day. I do want to talk about the Mahomet Aquifer when we come back, because it turns out John Dannenberger, and you guys probably recognize that name because John Dannenberger was at the center of some controversy prior to getting elected to the Bloomington City Council. I think it's the Bloomington City Council. Yeah. But we're going to talk about him because he apparently has a resolution out there banning the carbon pipelines, which I'm all for. But I think it's very interesting. Okay, so sorry. Streaming is freezing this morning. Yes. Sabotage? I don't know. But yes, the stream is kind of being funky this morning. So just bear with me. I think we're back now. So so do appreciate you tuning in. Let me know in the comment section if you can hear me now. Let me know. I think that we were just kind of like having some issues streaming. So let me know if we're still having that issue, and then we'll try to get it back up. Smash that like button, share this out with your friends. Let me know if you guys can hear me in the comment section. Okay, so when we come back, we're going to be talking about the Muhammad Aquifer. I talked a little bit about that football player for those of you who missed it on the stream. You guys can always head over to the radio too if the stream cuts out for some odd reason. I have no idea what was going on today, but if it cuts out, you guys can always tune in. There's an app that you can download as well if you're not in the area, the Bloomington Normal area. But he violated Rule 5, Section 4, Article 8 of the NFL rulebook, which is really interesting. It says throughout the period of the game day, if the player is visible at the stadium or to the stadium, television audience, that includes pregame warm-ups, bench area, post-game interviews, locker room, whatever. You cannot be wearing any kind of display of personal messages, either in writing or in illustration. So he knew he was probably going to get a fine. I'm sure he wasn't prepared for $11,000, but that's what he got. This ball player, this NFL player, Nick Bosa. So he admitted that he anticipated a fine, and he said the gesture was well worth it, the Make America Great Again hat. So I've got to get this straight. As long as you're supporting BLM, as long as you're supporting kneeling for the American flag, kneeling during the national anthem, or supporting whatever asinine leftist cause, the NFL could care less. But if you have a message and you're wearing a Make America Great Again hat, and you have a message of support for American greatness, you're going to get fined $11,000. Tell me how that makes sense. It sure as hell does not make a whole lot of sense to me. I don't know what the reasoning is, other than the fact that this is a party and this is a these Democrat operatives in the media. They are not inclusive, they are not tolerant, and they are not compassionate. None of that embodies what the left truly is. They're anti-tolerant, or they're not tolerant. They're not inclusive. They're not compassionate. And this is clear with this. Really, it was like just putting down the hammer on this guy. They made an example out of him. Okay, $11,000. That sounds like quite a bit of money. He said it was well worth it. So we're going to come back talking about Dave Kaler. He's the sponsor of this Senate bill 3968, and he says no person shall conduct carbon sequestration that underlies, or passes through the sole source aquifer. So this is a new bill of his. He's the guy who jeopardized it in the first place. We're gonna chat about Dave Kaler and a couple of other Democrats who jeopardized the clean drinking water, and now all of a sudden they're like, oh yes, let's do this. Let's keep the water protected. So we're gonna be right back. It's Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9. Smash that like button and share this out with your friends. We'll be right back. Hey, good morning. It's Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. Let's get to some local things here. I want to talk about Dave Kaler and this new bill that he's got. It's incredible. They jeopardized the water to begin with, and now they're going to try to play good guy, and it really just bugs me. So now you've got Dave Kaler, the Democrat, recently reelected, which boggles my mind. It really just proves that people have Stockholm syndrome, because this guy, he's going to gaslight you into thinking that he's all for clean drinking water and protecting the sole source aquifer, the Mahomet aquifer. But in all reality, this guy jeopardized it to begin with. Now he's going to pretend like he's all for protecting the clean drinking water. Julie Fosdick, an opponent of the carbon sequestration projects, she lives in Livingston County. She's a resident. And she said, the legislature seemed to be protecting the aquifer now because news broke about the ADM leaks. Yes, I agree with Julie Fosdick. It has become undeniable that this carbon sequestration, the carbon pipelines, they're not good, and it's a pseudoscience. It's really, they haven't perfected it. Those monitoring wells at ADM, I've talked about this before at Archer Daniels Midland, they had leaks. The monitor wells leaked, and people became much more aware about how carbon sequestration near an aquifer could actually pose a serious risk. The monitor wells, it's different than the actual injection wells leaking. The monitor wells are the only way we can tell if the injection wells are leaking. So we have no idea. They're only 13 years old. We have no idea if they are leaking right now, the ADM plant. So, a lot of Republicans are pro carbon pipeline project, and I know why. It's because you have a lot of money in these projects, and you can make a lot of money with these projects, farmers specifically. But I will not be corrupted, and I will tell you the reality of the situation. And the reality is these carbon pipelines are dangerous. I encourage you to go check out RFK Jr.'s documentary on this. He talks with Iowa farmers. Because Iowa, much of the Midwest, they're planning these massive Navigator wolf pipelines. They're planning these massive pipelines that go across the states: Indiana, Iowa, Illinois. So ADM's carbon sequestration wells, like I said, about 13 years old. The monitor wells are leaking. They failed. So the current bill, Senate Bill 1289, they, as in Dave Kaler, sponsored this, the Democrats, and they signed it into law. Governor J.B. Pritzker signed it into law, and the measure, puts regulations on carbon sequestration pipelines, but it's a 2-year moratorium on pipelines. So there's a 2-year ban on the pipelines, but that will be lifted once FSMA, or the Pipelines Hazardous Materials Safety Administration, deems it or provides guidelines for these pipelines to be built. So we wouldn't have any of these carbon pipelines around had not Senate Bill 1289 been passed. Okay, there's some regulations in that bill, but it's incredible because when they were passing that original bill, Chapin Rose and other Republicans had urged the sponsors to add protections for the aquifer. So much so that you had Chapin Rose cussing. He actually was cussing on the floor. He was yelling profanities, urging these people to protect the aquifer. And unfortunately, they didn't. They also kept the eminent domain. So there were two things the Republicans wanted in this bill if we were going to go the carbon pipeline route and if we were going to allow them in a couple of years. And the two things the Republicans requested was that eminent domain not be a thing where a private company can come in on your land and say, hey, we need it for these carbon pipeline projects. Number two, it was protection for the Mahomet aquifer. So the council, the Bloomington City Council, according to John, I guess it's word for is John Dannenberger. He sits on the Bloomington City Council, and he's going to be considering they're going to be considering a resolution supporting state legislation banning. Oh, this is so rich. Supporting state legislation banning carbon sequestration through the sole sourced Mahomet aquifer. So the county board passed this recently. Catherine Metzger, Crystal Abel, they were behind this resolution. Here's the thing that they're not going to tell you. as a local government, they definitely have the ability to pass a resolution that outright bans carbon sequestration under the sole sourced aquifer themselves. They do not have to wait for state legislation to do this. Okay, they can outright ban it as a governing body. The city council can ban it. The McLean County Board can ban it. They don't have to pass these silly little resolutions saying, oh, yeah, I support state legislation. That is virtue signaling to the highest degree. So John Dannenberger, I thought that they were actually going to ban it. Nope, it's just a silly little resolution that says, oh, we support legislation that bans it. Give me a break. Give me a break. God, these Democrats. John Dannenberger, you guys might remember hearing that name. He serves in the Bloomington District 4. Well, you guys need to know about this guy. This guy probably shouldn't have even been elected to that office. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know how this didn't get out there. I'm really disappointed in the Republican who ran against him, Stephen Novelsky. I think I'm saying that right. He's a great guy, but Republicans don't want to get down and dirty. At the time he said, well, I've recently been made aware of John Dannenberger's actions on this. I am focusing on getting to know the Ward 4 voters. Now, this was prior to the election where John Dannenberger won. He goes, I'm focused on getting to know the Ward 4 voters and the issues that are important to them. And Republicans need to get better about this. You need to get down and dirty with these people, and you need to be honest. This guy, he shouldn't have gotten elected to the Bloomington City Council. He disobeyed orders. He missed a hearing, he deflected blame, he lacked candor, and he breached standards while in the U.S. Army. Yes, this is all according to a primary source, U.S. States Army Court of Criminal Appeals case heard in 2017. So this is incredible. He falsely told the trial counsel that his client, he would be unable to attend this hearing. And this is really just like so tragic. He said, oh, I won't be able to attend. He was supposed to be a representative of somebody who went through, I believe, like sexual assault or something crazy like that. And he missed. Yeah, he missed the hearing. He lied about it. He was actually, I think, vacationing in Spain. He was on leave with his family. He falsely told the Special Victims Council program manager that he would not be attending the Special Victims training because he would be at this hearing that he didn't go to. Okay, and then he went on a vacation to Spain with his family instead of going to this hearing. So he lied about going to the hearing. He told the program manager, his manager, that he was going to the hearing, but then he further lied. Like he wasn't there. He went on a trip to Spain. He was ordered to return to Germany for this hearing, but did not. And he went to the hearing via the telephone. He tried to deflect blame by breaching his duties to his clients by implying that his client had been untruthful in her testimony. He displayed a lack of candor, and he breached professional standards. This is all according to the clerk of court. This is the United States. This is primary documentation. He is not a good guy. I don't know how he got elected. Knowing this, knowing that he was willing to throw a victim, special victims unit, that's like sexual assault. That's some pretty crazy, heinous crime. And he was supposed to show up for this client of his, and instead of representing her, he threw her under the bus. He tried to deflect blame by breaching his duties, not attending that hearing on his client. So, I mean, not a good guy. I don't even know how this guy was elected. But I wanted to bring that up. I know that you guys were like, John Dannenberger, that sounds familiar. Yeah, it's probably because you guys know that he lied, missed a hearing, disobeyed orders, deflected blame, lacked candor, and breached standards in the U.S. Army. And that's not my words. That's the United States Army. Okay. The Court of Criminal Appeals case that was heard in 2017. I don't know how he got elected. I don't even know how you, when you have something like that on you, how you like have the cojones to go out and run for office. No idea. But hey, he's got a virtue signaling resolution out there if you were interested in that kind of thing. All right, I do have to take a quick break, but you're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9. Hey, good morning. So do appreciate you tuning in. We'll be right back. It's Conservative Cat. Hey, good morning. So do appreciate you tuning in each and every single morning. Go ahead and smash that like button. We're going to come back and we're going to be chatting a little bit about Vivek Ramaswamy, Elon Musk. They're at Doge. So this is the Department of Government Efficiency. So exciting. I actually have this clip here from Parks and Rec, and I think that you guys are really going to like it. Ron Swanson, he was actually put on a task force in the film. It was the emergency budget task force where they're tasked with cutting the government. And he's like, all too excited about being able to do that. So I'd imagine that Elon and Vivek's first day is going to be much like this scene from Parks and Rec. We're going to be chatting about, as well as that, we're going to be chatting about the 3 referenda that passed here in the state of Illinois. So it's very interesting. I did some digging on this, and it turns out that there was an actual ballot question that they were trying to avoid get on trying to avoid it getting onto the ballot on the November ballot. There was a question that the Parents Matter Coalition was trying to get on. It's deals with transgenders and hey, if there's going to be minors who are getting life-altering medications or life-altering surgeries, they should have consent of their parents, written consent of their parents, and parents should be involved in that process. And they were trying to get that question onto the ballot. Now, prior to them getting the question onto the ballot, the state legislature, the General Assembly, bought up all of the real estate on that ballot, essentially by passing a bill. We're going to get to that here on Conservative Cat Cities 92.9. Smash that like button and share this out with your friends. We're right back. Woo! Hey, good morning. It's Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. So do appreciate you tuning in each and every single day. Yes, Dannenberger. Anything this guy does, I just roll my eyes because he shouldn't even be there. He lied, he missed a hearing, he disobeyed orders, he deflected blame, he lacked candor, and he breached standards. And that's not according to me. That's according to the U.S. Army. I mean, this is not a cool guy. He's not a good guy. He falsely told the trial counsel that his client, that he would be able to attend this hearing. He said that he wouldn't be able to attend it because he had to attend a mandatory meeting, a Special Victims Council training in Washington, D.C. And he had told the trial counsel, he had told his client that he wasn't going to be there at this hearing because he had to go to the meeting. But guess what he told the person in charge of the meeting, the mandatory Special Victims Council meeting? He told the program manager that he couldn't attend the training because he would be at the hearing. So you see what he did here, okay? So we lied to two different people, and he missed the court hearing. He missed the training because guess where he was? He was in Spain, and he was on vacation with his family in Spain, and he was ordered to return to Germany, but did not, and then he appeared at the hearing via telephone, this hearing he was supposed to be at via the telephone. And he tried to deflect blame by not being there onto his client. He said that, I breached my duties as an attorney for this woman. He's representing a client, and he tried to deflect blame onto his client, and it's just he just displayed a lack of honesty, and he breached all kinds of professional standards. And this all happened in 2017. He was deemed by the U.S. military or by the U.S. Army, hey, you lied, This is the guy that's representing you on the city council, and he's going to sit there and he's going to try to virtue signal and say, oh, we've got a resolution supporting state legislation. Stop it with the stupid resolutions. Just do it. Ban it. Ban the carbon sequestration under the sole source aquifer, the sole source of drinking water for the Bloomington Normal area. Just do it. Ban it. They won't. They'll do the virtue signaling thing, though. They definitely will do that. Much like the Catherine Metzger and Crystal Label on the McLean County Board, they'll do that. They'll gaslight you into thinking that they care. I do want to talk about Elon and Vivek Ramaswamy. They're going to be leading this new department. It's the Department of Government Efficiency. Fox News host Pete Hegseth is going to serve as the Secretary of Defense. I'm loving the Trump team. Looks like we're going to have DHS Kristi Noem. She's going to be the Department of Homeland Security. It looks like Secretary of State is going to be Marco Rubio. Let's play this clip. So this is Ron Swanson from Parks and Rec. I don't know if you've watched this TV show. It's good. But this is Ron Swanson. He was also appointed to a task force that deals with emergency budgets, slashing the government and getting rid of government bloat. And he was ecstatic about that. I'd imagine Vivek and Elon are going to be just as ecstatic as Ron Swanson. Take a listen.
With current and projected deficits, we need to cut expenditures by 32%.
Let's make it an even 40.
Oh, that's not necessary.
Slash it. Slash it. I am an official member of a task force dedicated to slashing the city budget.
He's like overjoyed. And he's talking about, of course, slashing the the government, Ron Swanson, and he's overjoyed about this. I do want to continue playing this clip, but Vivek Ramaswamy, I thought he was going to be press secretary. Somebody texted in, they said Charlie Kirk for press secretary, and I'm like, yeah, that'd actually probably be a good pick. I thought he was going to be press secretary, Vivek Ramaswamy, just because he knows how to handle the journalism industry. Let's take a listen to more of this Parks and Rec clip. I think you guys will like it.
Right off the bat, we sell City Hall. Let somebody turn it into a large gas station or a TJ Maxx.
Yes.
Ron, that is a very creative idea. But we don't want to sell any of our major assets because we don't want to lose out on any future revenue streams.
I hear that. Don't worry, I have tons more ideas.
Okay.
So sorry. New ringtone.
He's got a ringtone that's like the sound of a gun going off, and he goes, "Oh, so sorry, new ringtone." Oh man, that's how I'd imagine this is gonna go when Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon get in there. Somebody also texted in. You guys can always text in 309-451-9299. They said, "Hi, Kat. That rule that was put in to stop Tim Tebow from his 3:16. So John 3:16. That's very famous Bible verse. It's called the Tebow rule. So this rule, I guess, with the NFL, they put this rule in place, and there was a recent NFL star who was in violation of this rule or broke this rule because he had a MAGA hat, and he got in front of the camera and he got this massive fine. It was like $11,000 because the crime he committed was wearing a MAGA hat. And it's this rule. Let me look it up here. It's the Rule 5, Section 4, Article 8. I guess it's the Tim Tebow rule. They tried to stop Tim Tebow from, having his little religious rights. So this guy, he violated the rule with the MAGA hat. And here's the question. It's not whether he broke the rule or not. It's more so if he had been wearing Kamala Harris attire, if he had been wearing a Black Lives Matter t-shirt, would he have been slapped with an $11,000 fine? I think you already know the answer to that. So I'm going to be right back. It's Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9. We'll be back, and I want to talk a little bit about these 3 referenda that passed in Illinois. Some interesting things going on there of how those questions even got onto the ballot, the origins of those questions. We'll get to that next. Hey, good morning. So do appreciate you tuning in each and every single day. We are going to get to, of course, these 3 referenda questions, the origins of these questions and how they even got onto the ballot, because it's kind of interesting, right? You've got the passage of these 3 non-binding referenda, statewide referenda, and they were placed on the 2024 ballot. And I did some extra digging, and I was like, why did the state legislature want to put these on there? I mean, they don't really need to put, why would they want to gauge the public's interest? The Democrats, right? The Democrats put these non-binding statewide referenda on there because they've got the supermajority in the House and Senate out in Springfield, and I got my head kind of itching. I was like, wait a second, why in the world would they want to put these questions on in the first place? Well, it turns out that they were trying to hoard ballot space because they did not want a citizen initiative. At least this is what critics are saying. People are saying that this is what the origin of those questions was all about. They didn't want a citizen initiative to appear on the ballot. So I did some digging, figured out what that citizen initiative was. They were freaked out that they were going to actually get this question on the ballot. And they did not want the question on the ballot at all. So what they did in the dead of night, hastily passed this legislation to get these 3 referenda on the ballot. They tried to do this because they were nervous that they were going to get this Parents Matter coalition. They were going to get this question that asked the electorate, that asked the voters, if it would be okay if minors obtained written consent from their parents in order to engage in medical decisions like abortions or transgender surgeries. This was a parents' rights question, and it was supposed to be on the ballot, and they didn't get enough signatures for it anyway. But in anticipation of them getting it on the ballot and collecting enough signatures with the state legislature, did they went and they put these 3 ballot questions on the ballot to hoard up that space, because you can only have so many ballot questions from one political division. So you can only have 3. So you can have 3. So say if McLean County wanted several resolutions, they could have up to 3. The state of Illinois can only have 3 statewide initiatives. You can have 3 McLean County wide initiatives. You can have 3 Bloomington initiatives, right? So it's to kind of protect the space of the ballot. That's why that exists. So, yeah. I do want to chat about that when we come back. You guys are listening to Conservative Cat. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel today. Woo! Hey, good morning. It's Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. Now, those 3 referendum questions that you saw on your ballot, what's the origins of those questions? That's what we're going to be discussing here in this last segment. So after the passage of all 3 non-binding statewide referenda placed on the 2024 ballot by the state legislature, they placed it, by the way, the General Assembly did. Okay, they placed it on the ballot, those 3 questions. Critics are now saying that the government, your Illinois legislature, your government, they hoarded ballot real estate. So they were hoarding the space by getting those 3 referendum, the non-binding statewide referendum. Because I was thinking to myself too, I was like, this is bizarre. Why do they want non-binding referendum on there to kind of gauge the public for their opinion? Right? Which I'm all for, by the way. I think it's awesome that they're putting non-binding referenda on there, but why? Because they have the supermajority, the Democrats. They don't really need the public opinion for anything else. They don't gauge the public's opinion for anything else. They just pass whatever they want out of there and they shove everything through. And they don't really care about the public's opinion. So all of a sudden they care about the public's opinion and they want your opinion on these 3 issues. No. So hoarding this ballot real estate, taking up the space, this is what the state legislature did. This resulted in citizen initiatives to not appear on the ballot. So David Smith, the Illinois Family Institute executive director, explained there's only so much real estate on the ballot. You can only have 3 referendums per political division. So Bloomington can have 3 referenda. Then you can have 3 referenda in McLean County. Then you can have 3 statewide referenda. But there's only so much space on the ballot and you can only have 3 per political, I guess, division. The Parents Matter Coalition, they attempted to get a question on the ballot asking voters if parents should have more control over minors making medical decisions surrounding things like abortion and gender transitioning surgeries. David Smith, he says, the 3 referendums circumvented the citizen initiatives that we were trying to get on the ballot. The Parents Matter Coalition. So Jeannie Ives, she's a former state representative. She said that the petitioners, they failed to get the advisory question on the November ballot, not because of the 3 referenda and it hoarding the ballot, but they didn't get enough signatures. They fell short of the 330,000 signatures they needed. But in anticipation that they were going to get those signatures, guess what the state legislature did? They took their hammer and they smashed down the Parents Matters Coalition before they could even before they could even get enough signatures to get it on the ballot, they were gonna be challenged anyway. Say they had gotten those signatures, they were gonna face a big challenge of getting it on the ballot because they passed these three of their own advisory questions. And Jeannie Ives, she says they're political gimmicks that just blocked their question from appearing on the ballot. That would have blocked their question from appearing on the ballot had they, in the event that they had actually gotten enough signatures to get it on the ballot. So you see what's going on here. Your government is quite literally tyrannical. You've got this parents' rights coalition, Parents Matter, and they're trying to get a question on the ballot, but before they can even get the petition signatures to get it on the ballot, they came down and they hoarded the ballot space and they put their referenda on there. And Ives is accusing the legislature of filling the ballot with initiatives that were actually unnecessary. So I've talked about these 3 referenda before. One was the protecting election workers. I told you that there's already laws in place that protect people from intimidation, from threatening behavior. So I don't understand why they put that question on the ballot. Also, the fair tax, right, which has failed several times, but Governor J.B. Pritzker kind of brought it back with this non-binding referendum. Where you've got, a 3% increase of tax on millionaires, right, or on people who make $1 million a year. Then you've got, the IVF question, which most insurers actually cover IVF, but this went further. It was like unlimited abortions and healthcare, reproductive healthcare. I told you that if a mother, deems facials necessary for her reproductive health, she could probably get it covered under Medicaid or under her insurance, right? With this, if this were to become law. Now, none of these are going to become law because they're non-binding referendum. They're not going to be implemented in state law. It just kind of gives them the gas to pass something like this in the future, but they don't really need the gas. When you sit down and you think about it, why would the state legislature or the Democrats want these questions on there? Engage public opinion. They don't really need public opinion. They can just pass whatever they want, and they do. So Jeannie Ives, she says, in 48 hours, just before the deadline for ballot initiative questions to get onto the ballot, they passed legislation to put 3 ballot questions that they wanted to block ours because at any one time you can only have 3 referendum questions on the ballot. None of the questions that they asked on that ballot were substantive, and they were repetitive, things that are currently already in law. So that's tyranny. That's tyrannical, bottom line. So you guys have a blessed day. Bye-bye. I love you. We're going to do it all over again tomorrow morning. I'm excited about Trump's team. He's stacking it up with some loyalists and some MAGA people. So I'm excited about that. You guys have a blessed day. Bye-bye. Love you. Find me on YouTube and subscribe to the channel. It's The Conservative Cat Show. Type it in your search bar.